Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Right over here, we have another game from the 1v1 Polytopia League that I played. I haven't taken a look at some of the exciting games the other players have played yet, but at least as long as these are fresh on my mind, it'll be a lot more easier for me to discuss what happened in mine before we start going over the other players' games. Right over here, we have a Zinzi versus Imo game. I am playing as Imo versus... I'm trying to remember. It's going to be Yangyavoil playing as the Zinzi. I am the host, so in all of my games, I was the host. I chose to just put them all on a normal lakes map, because that is the way I prefer to play. This is going to be I found this as an interesting game for one reason, but we'll be discussing that momentarily later. And so right over here, we're gonna go ahead and begin to watch the game. I go ahead and I start by moving my warrior to the south as the first best rule of Polytopia. If you can, you should be attempting to send your units towards the center. Yangyavoil, however, decides that they're gonna go to the outside because they're seeing all the water. I don't necessarily quite agree with this idea. It would have been a lot more beneficial for them to be moving towards the center mountain. That way they can get a little bit more information, like, is this a small lake? Is this a big lake? What kind of lake are we dealing with over here? But they are missing that bit of vital information at this point. So I'm going to be spreading out my units. One of them is going to be going backwards, as IMO typically has issues with resources, or at least I find, where even though they may have like empty spots, you may go, oh, okay, that's gonna be some crops. Nah, not necessarily. But we're gonna go ahead and follow our resources. We got a whole bunch of animals, which leads us to this village over here. We're gonna follow this animal over here in the north to hopefully find another village over there, so we could just start increasing our production all around. Zinzi is going to be spreading out. This time, they're actually going to go ahead and finally get that bit of information they're going to need, where they can see this village. Even though they're able to see one vital bit of information, this is one of the benefits of playing Zinzi. They're able to see extra far due to climbing, and they're able to see my territory. I still have no idea about where they are. For instance, if I go ahead and switch over to them, the only thing I know about is that their border starts over here, and we may be immediate direct neighbors, which is another reason I should be trying to get this center bit of the map and get control of the lake, especially since it looks like this lake may be moderately large. So Zinzi gonna go ahead and continue to expand. They actually start off with hunting. Hunting can be pretty good, but they have ruins here that might be able to help offset that ever so slightly. So we're gonna go ahead and see what they're going to get. Now, we're also going to be discussing one important bit of information. Right over here, they claim their northern city, but I'm sure everybody here can really discover the misplay that we're going to be discussing. They did not go with an explore. Now, they can easily see that my border is right over here, and this is a lakes map, plus they start off with a climbing technology. There's 100% no reason not to be picking up an explore. You're actually going to see that this is the game-losing play that was made right here, and you'll be able to see why in just a moment. So they're going to be able to get mining from those ruins, so they're able to level up their capital, which is excellent. And they're going to start moving their warrior out. Now they're starting to see that I have borders right over there. So at this point, the next best thing that Zinzi can possibly do is it's time to go ahead and meet up and get that discovery bonus. Wololo. And now I have an advantage as I get a warrior. This Mindbender fully pays for itself, basically. And yes, this is a competitive game, and Mindbenders are generally not that good, but I felt that, hey, if I can just last a couple of turns, which I did, I'll be able to gain an advantage from picking up the philosophy technology. Because as you can see right over here, I have philosophy, and philosophy gives you literacy, reduce the price of all technologies by 33%. Now, mind you, philosophy is typically a trap that you don't want to be picking up, as you will be investing like 7, 10, 13 stars into philosophy going, I'm going to save stars in the future. Right. But in most cases, you could have been saving more stars by just getting more stars by researching hunting first, and then increasing your economy, picking up organization, or forestry, or something of those sorts, and actually increasing how many stars you're getting per turn, instead of just making things cost cheaper. You're not making military cost cheaper, you're just making research cost cheaper in the future. I went ahead and went with that risk based off of score counting and everything that I was seeing. They were able to claim a village, they have a warrior, and what is everything that they have? Well, there's at this point, there's a good chance that they already have mining, 2 villages, and that's all I can probably tell from right there. And at this point, I'm doing exactly what I said I was going to be doing. I am just picking up my technologies to start improving my economy, but I could have probably had a stronger economy if I didn't go with philosophy to begin with. But I did anyways, and at this point, I am just trying to make sure I have enough stars. So we're going to level up all of our cities, and then we're going to train that Mindbender right over here. Oops, that's the wrong thing. They got about 200 stars of points, so maybe they picked up archery, but I didn't see them have any defensive boost when they were standing on the trees right over there. So I was pretty certain they did not have an archer at this point. And if I also had a vague idea that if they had explored, their score would have been higher, and they would have been not moving exactly in this way, very uncertain. So at this point, we're just going to get the border growth, and look at that. This is one of the big benefits of IMO, is just having access to that Monument of Peace. That Monument of Peace can allow massive things, and at this, I am just trying to limit my opponent's exposure to this central lake, which is the main purpose of this expansion, plus the Giant's potential here is fantastic. And then, of course, the warrior moves in. I get the free conversion. We're going to be leveling everything up, because a Mindbender costs 5 stars. The warrior goes in, bops my Mindbender. My Mindbender hits their warrior, and notice, remember, the warrior is the weakest unit. The Mindbender hits the warrior, essentially instantly killing it, and then adding a warrior on my side. So I save 2 stars, and my opponent loses 2 stars of their investment. That is the worst that a Mindbender can get when still being able to use their conversion, and it is 100% worth it. Now, again, Mindbenders are absolutely weak, as my Explorer decides to go the exact wrong way, because I was really hoping to get more information on my opponent right there. But then my opponent moves forward with their archer and kills the Mindbender. But it's already gotten its value. And at this point of the game, we're able to see the spread of both players. I, as IMO, currently have 4 villages, whereas my opponent has 2 warriors running off to the south, and they're currently only at 3. However, with their archery, they may be able to pelt my units down, but this is a very narrow choke point. We really need to be starting to fight for this lake. I am able to discover that, but my opponent hasn't quite realized how important this lake really is, or at least it doesn't look like they're making any efforts to be getting onto said lake. So they're going to go ahead and level up their front village, get those resources, try to get that economy rolling. Look at all of those lumberhots right in that back village. Not really accomplishing too much, but it's improving their economy ever so slightly. I'm able to get my first giant out onto that central village. And what we're going to see, as I'm already picking up the fishing technology, if I can get that giant onto the water and start getting those battleships rolling. Now again, with the philosophy technology, it's a lot easier to be researching everything. In this case, it's just 8 stars, 11 stars, which would normally in this case be 12 and 16. That 33% save can be huge. But you are sacrificing strength in the early game. Now, on a map like this, on a normal lakes map, it's actually, it's not strong, but it's okay to make that sort of gamble. On a smaller map or on a drylands map, going with philosophy is less ideal, as your opponent's just going to rush you down with riders. So before I get into your head that, I'm going to play IMO, I'm going to go with the philosophy, no. I'm still going to say that it's not the greatest, but there are moments where it's strong. So, Zenzi is getting a couple of archers out so that way they can control this choke point and prevent me from getting anything of value out of my capital. However, this giant is already on the water. My opponent can just now see that. But I don't know exactly what they're going to be doing in response to this. I'm going to zoom out quite a bit. They're getting swordsmen out and getting their own giants as well, giving access to that monument. I'm going to be using my giant to try to be exploring and getting more vision of the entire battlefield. And once again, we're going to completely utilize mindbenders. We're going to be training a mindbender here at my middle city of Sopai in order to not convert this time, but we're going to be having we're going to be having a port that could just heal up all of my ships, as I am again aware that this lake is going to be this lake's going to determine who's going to win this match. If I can have my giant battleships on the map control everything that's going on, and then keep them healthy with a mindbender while allowing them to shower down my enemy, that is going to be my win condition. Whereas my opponent is trying to move forward with their archers to go, okay, well, I am going to start going after your capital, because remember, this is just a might game. If they can take my capital, this game is over. So they've got a giant and a swordsman right here in the center. They've got mathematics technology, so they are able to defend against the lake if they play their cards right, expanding their borders to get better giants potential. But I'm bringing my giant ship around in order to start getting my game plan rolling. Our mindbender is in a position to keep it nice and protected. Right now, I can only heal one square moderately permanently, but with this giant over here, there's nothing that the enemy can do for quite a while, and I have already discovered their front catapult. So that catapult is going to be of no value there. Even a simple boat can finish it off. Getting another giant out and just getting as many units onto the water as I possibly can. Getting our mindbender into a position to heal off my units. That is the that is the front of the battlefield. My opponent has now claimed their 2 cities on the southern end of the map, and now discovering that this condenses down into a narrow point, and they need to start investing into the water. However, they have an issue here. I have expanded my borders, and I am limiting how much space they have onto the water. So that's going to be tricky. They're going to be attempting to see if they can just force their way into the north, training even more catapults to try to fight for the lake against my battleship that is already pelting down all of their units and killing off their catapults. So, one last thing over here on the western side, I have finished wrapping around my edge of the lake, and we'll be picking up cities on the western side, and we will continue to be investing our time into the center of, well, and right over here onto the border of the map where all of the action is happening. So I'm going to be moving my battleship around in order to be pelting down their giants, as I am going to be trying to limit their options to be fighting back. And at this point, I am now discovering, because I don't see this quite as of yet, but my opponent is using their catapults to fight off both of my battleships. Now, they used this catapult to attack from on top of their city, which completely reveals that they've got a catapult right there on their city to me, as long as I'm watching where those shots are coming from. And now both of my battleships are wounded. However, at this point, well, I'm going to continue to be getting even... actually, no, that was... Zinzi down here in the south getting a giants here to increase their economy and get another super unit. However, due to the lack of roads, this giant really has nowhere to be going. So we're going to go ahead and invest in yet another giant battleship in order to kill off not one, but two of the enemy's catapults. I don't want them to be pelting down my units on the center of the map, and I want full control over that. This is why, when a lot of people are having issues with... this is why we need a naval rework. These giant battleships are more than enough to deal with everything, including the catapults, and there's absolutely nothing my opponent is going to be able to do to fight these back. And you're going to see why, especially topped off with a mind bender to heal them up. As once we finish leveling up our cities, the enemy's going to take their turn. I've got a giant that's breathing down their neck saying, if you're not careful, I'm going to push up here in the north end of your borders. And the enemy's actually training up defenders just to save on stars. They should be getting at least swordsmen at this point if they're going to invest into that. But they're trying to save their stars to get onto the water and get control over everything, including building yet another catapult here in the south. Slowly moving this giant north to try to help out with that. So, right over here, immediately moving both of my battleships back to the Mindbender, and then having the Mindbender heal them both up. One of them is already nearly back to full health, and we're going to continue to be able to just move back and forth of doing move back, heal, attack, and then heal, move forward, and attack. This is one really powerful tactic that you could be using on your lakes or archipelago maps, especially if you're playing as IMO. Again, I'm not saying that Mindbenders are overpowered, because they have plenty of weaknesses, but this map and everything that is laid out to be, plus that one misplay at the beginning, is going to fully show the terrifying power of what a Mindbender is capable of. The enemy is going to be trying to fight off this giant here to defend their borders, getting yet another catapult, training more swordsmen, more giants, trying to improve their economy. And at this point, we're having, well, both of us are actually equivalent on economy. So despite me getting onto the water, my opponent is keeping up in score as well as in eco. However, again, I've got another giant battleship here on the water, preventing them from getting catapults to defend their borders. And at this point, there's not too much else. We're just going to continue to watch the rest of this game. I have full control over here on the west. They're going to be getting this little peninsula here in the south. But with that back and forth maneuver, we're going to heal up the two battleships. One of them is now all the way back to full health. The other one two turns away. They're going to be able to continue to kill off the Schwarzman. I'm going to be able to kill off the catapults even further. And even though they're going to say, okay, I'm going to hit your giant battleship, I want to reduce it and make it to where it's not going to be able to do anything. I am now, for the third reason of why Mindbenders are so powerful, I've got a chain of Mindbenders that are going to slowly make their way to the front of the enemy's lines, as In a situation where the enemy is using swordsmen without and no riders, no knights, 2 mindbenders is absolutely terrifying to deal with. A, they can heal up units on the front line, and B, if you kill one mindbender, the other mindbenders just convert whatever you used to kill the first mindbender with, and they're going to continue the push. Moving the giant battleships back yet again. Getting another heal, going to be killing off all of their units, and then this giant battleship moves forward just to kill off another catapult, as my lose condition is my opponent's able to get all of the catapults and kill all of my boats, but as long as we continue to kill off their catapults, there's nothing they can do. And at this point, that is when they realize that, yes, these giant battleships, their health has actually yet to go down. In fact, their health has only gone up this entire fight. There's nothing they can do, and this battle is lost. They played a good game, but the entire thing was determined by 2 things. First and foremost, this entire interaction here from the very beginning. Moving our units out to discover everything. Them deciding to go to the back instead of towards the center. And I go with the more riskier philosophy technology, say I think I can make this work out, and it is a huge gamble. I could have lost the game right there, and I probably should have lost the game right there, but due to picking up a workshop here instead of an explorer, allows me to be able to increase my economy in the back with everything that I need to, counting my opponent's moves. They do not have a defensive bonus right over here, so they're very unlikely to have an archer right out of the gates. And then I spend my turn to increase my economy. And then spend the rest of my stars to get a mindbender to fully swing the tempo into my favor right here at the start. All because my opponent decided to go with the workshop instead of an explorer. Don't forget to be exploring.